The lead homicide detective just got on scene, and although police have turned off their lights and sirens, you can look and see it's still a really active scene. And if you look down the road, you can see the evidence marker. Parents and organizers say they are excited about how this all came together, but they're hoping they will take some advice and make all play areas inclusive to children with special needs. And I want you to look at this building. Chris and I are over here in another section of downtown. You have pieces of brick that have fallen from here, landed in the street. We're going to go ahead and move because the police have been very kind and given us a couple of seconds to stay here. So we'll come back to you with updates when we can. When it comes to safety on the water, there's a couple of things you want to keep in mind. It's your speed and how close you are to the next boat. And I am joined by Noble the bald eagle. We first told you about him going missing earlier today, but now he's back. This is where investigators found the body. If you look behind me, you can see some tire tracks. As you mentioned, we've been here for about an hour, and in that time, police have pushed us back quite a bit. I want to bring your attention over here. 2 people have been shot and they were rushed to the hospital. Cracks like this all along the walls and ceiling, and down on the ground you're going to see the bits of more. The game's been going on for about 62 minutes and Tulsa is leading the way. Lee the horse locker and his trio of horses are calling Hominy home for tonight. But for the last 10 years, they've been traveling.
What all we trying to do is live. That's it. Can we live and be happy here on earth?
It's a combination of frustration, anger, and sadness spread across the people's faces.
I'm pissed off like everybody else around here is. They could have tased that man. He'd have been still alive now.
And with each deadly officer-involved shooting, those feelings sink in a little bit more.
In cold blood. I don't understand.
This time, Joshua Berry died. Sheldon Reason says in about 15 minutes, he saw Berry die.
They followed him all the way up to the store with their guns like this. They could have tased him. They didn't tase him, they just started shooting.
Witnesses say police followed Berry for at least a block. Even though he had 2 knives, some still say he shouldn't have died.
It's ways to keep that man breathing, but they took his whole life.
As each minute ticked by, the crowd grew, and so did the police presence. At one point, officers pulled out pepper ball guns, and backup showed up in riot gear.
It's because this type of stuff is only dividing people more. And then it's going to come to a point to where people is not going to don't trust law enforcement.
Like a yo-yo, the tension and crowd emotions fluctuated. Each explosion of emotion followed by a brief moment of calm, along with a very specific request.
This has got to stop, the excessive force. It got to stop.
17 holds a special significance for former Marine Anthony Marquez. As the chainsaw blade spins, it carves memories of each of his 17 comrades who lost their lives in battle.
On our deployment to Afghanistan, we had 17 guys that were killed and over 160 wounded.
Marquez served 2 tours as a K-9 officer. He's seen and endured a lot, but nothing prepared him for the pain of losing so many friends. Though he's no longer bearing arms, he bears the lasting pain along with his chainsaw.
I guess you could say it's somewhat a healing process. I mean, it takes a lot physically and emotionally.
He's transforming those emotions into battlefield crosses.
It's hard. I mean, it's challenging.
With just a few months of experience, he's been able to transform big logs into something beautiful. Each cross takes about 16 hours to finish.
I would guess this one probably weighs about 150 pounds.
So far, he's made 3. He's already given 1 to the family of a fallen Marine. He's sold another. And this one is being auctioned to raise money for a veteran who lost his home in a fire. But the main focus remains on the 17.
My goal is to give 1 to each family.
It's a happy resolution to what could have ended quite differently. Sarah Lewis says she wasn't trying to harm her children, but protect them. Were you a bit afraid?
Extremely afraid for the lives of my children and myself. I thought I was doing the right thing, trying to get us into a women's shelter.
Deputies found Lewis in Arkansas, just over the state line. Lewis says the children's father was abusive, and that's why she left with the kids. She was surprised to see the Amber Alert with her name on it.
It's not that we were trying to run. I was on my way to a women's shelter when the Amber Alert was issued.
The Delaware County Sheriff says a court order was issued for Lewis's children to be taken away. It said the children were in imminent danger because both parents suffered with drug use.
She actually reached out to us through her attorney told us where she was. We met up with her, and we safely brought them back.
Delaware County Sheriff Harlan Moore says they initially thought this was a case where Lewis got a tip and took off, but now it looks like she just happened to leave. He says this likely will not be considered kidnapping.
This is the greatest way for the outcome to happen, within a few short hours after putting the Amber Alert out. And I'll tell you, we are so grateful to the media.
Faye, Alice, and Dink weigh a little under 2,000 pounds each. They are Suffolk Punch plow horses. Instead of tending to the fields, they tend to their owner, Lee the horse logger.
August 9th, 2006, my friends dumped me on the west side of the Rocky Mountains, and we started traveling. And the adventures began from there.
In 10 years, Lee and his horses, multiple have since retired, have traveled over 16,000 miles, all the while pulling a nearly 8,000-pound homemade wagon Lee calls home, taking breaks when they can.
This is what these guys are bred to do, and they like doing it.
Lee and his team are on the road all year, looking for logging work where they can find it. Before becoming a countrywide traveler, Lee and his horses were loggers in Montana, but he lost his job in 2006 when 70% of the timber industry crashed.
I have to have a job. I like driving horses. Don't need a whole lot of money, just enough money to keep them fed.
He says it's not always easy, but if you love it, you'll make it work.
We've made it. We've done a lot of little jobs. We've done firewood jobs, do whatever.
Lee says the work he does is hard, but his biggest challenge is making sure he and his horses are fed. You can find out more information about Lee and his trio of horses over at newson6.com. Reporting in Hominy, Katiera Winfrey, News on 6.